Zaituna Nantume is a mother of 5. She's an HIV-positive widow who has been living in her parental home since her husband died. 2 years ago, her father died, and her siblings now want to throw her out of her father's house. Fortunately, she came to Uganet, which took up her case and helped her to recover the house.
Banyambye mu okuntulugunya kwe baali bantulugunya kuba nejje nali nzirukidde baali bagamba okunsangayo bajje bantemeteme. Mbeebaza nnyo kubanga nze we nali ntuuse nali ngenda kufa nga stress nina y'amaanyi nnyo, naye kati bwe ntuuse mpulira natereera kuba n'omutima gwange gwaddayo mu mbeera nga gyendi era mbeebaza nnyo.
Zaituna is one of the millions who need access to justice to improve their socio-economic status. A small section of this are being supported by legal aid service providers in the state and non-state sector. But the challenge still remains enormous.
70 to 80% of all agricultural produce in Uganda is done by women. Did you know? And not women like me, because for me I don't know how to dig, to be honest with you. It is done by rural women. Very, very poor peasants. Okay, they do little, people go and collect and the agricultural produce increases. So what does that mean? That those women and men that grow the agricultural produce are too poor to afford a lawyer, because we've said rural, deep down women. Okay, and it's not just about women, but also the men, deep down, vulnerable, poor, they don't have anything. So when they're facing access to justice challenges, they need support.
Most cases involving the poor and vulnerable relate to land use, and yet land is an important factor in their economic well-being.
Whenever there are conflicts over this land, people do not utilize the land. If there is a court injunction over land, for example, you will not farm even if it's a season for farming. And our interventions is in areas where customary land abounds in Uganda. And it suffices to note that 80% of Uganda is covered by customary land. And so you can imagine, and that is where actual production takes place. And so when these issues are resolved, like we resolve them through mediation, people are able to use their land. Indeed, they're able to farm. They're able to enjoy their land rights. And farming, of course, it's in tandem to development.
A big section of the population which need legal aid are those already entangled with the law, either as suspects in police custody, in remand, or inmates in prison. Many of these overstay in custody and are unable to access justice on their own. They suffer severe economic effects as a result of their incarceration.
Every time that person is in prison, he's fed. And that person is not productive at all. His family itself is actually left languishing. Sometimes, most of those are bread earners and bread winners in where they come from.
We have had situations where in the first month, maybe the woman comes and visits the husband 3 times. But later on, you find that the visits are now dwindling, up to the point when she no longer comes. And in the end, the family is disintegrated. 4 years down the road, when this person is released from custody, from detention, he goes and finds the woman is not at home. The same applies to the women.
Efforts by legal aid service providers through the Paralegal Advisory Services, PAS, have had a significant impact in reducing the remand population in Uganda's prison system.
Imagine an inmate who is in a prison having somebody to go on his behalf and sit before the magistrate and present what? His issue. That is a great salvation when it comes to the inmate's plight of access to justice. And on the other hand, on Uganda Prison Service as an institution, it has helped us a lot in the sense that we have been able to stem the remand population At one time, we had, in fact, cutters of the intervention of parental advisory service. At one time, the remand population had come as low as 54%.
Representation for the indigent in prison is a big burden for the few legal service providers offering this much-needed assistance.
And every year, we do represent over 20,000 inmates. Both inmates and those ones who are looking for services in the civil sector. But you realize that at the moment, the Legal Aid Project itself has over 50 lawyers, and uses also the pro bono scheme where private advocates handle some of the cases for free. At least each lawyer now is required by law to handle 2 or 3 cases for free. But yes, every year. But that notwithstanding, we have a big number of people who still yearn for our services beyond what we can actually offer. If you came here on a daily basis, you will not miss to meet at least 40 people waiting for the services every day.
Many of the victims of lack of access to justice are young people and children who, as a result of overstay in remand, end up being adult offenders.
Within the international understanding of child justice, children should be pushed out of the system as quick as possible. Why? Because you want to make sure that there's minimum harm done. And because they are children, there's also this issue of second chance. Children should be given a second chance. Maybe they wronged because they didn't know. Maybe they wronged, they were in the wrong group. Maybe they wronged because of so many other factors. So when you're dealing with child justice issues, you're supposed to be thinking about the second chance issue. So when they're not given this second chance and they're kept in the system, they end up becoming adult offenders. So they are not rehabilitated.
Some of the legal aid service providers, like the Muslim Center for Justice and Law, are working with Kadi courts to offer alternative dispute resolution and reduce the cost of accessing justice for the poor and vulnerable Muslims.
If these courts are also placed in such a way that if a case came from them, there is documentation that can actually help this person go up to the other ordinary courts, I think it would better be than people knowing I can choose. If I go to a Kadi court and I am not helped, or I feel I am disgruntled, I have to file another case before an ordinary court. I think if we had a system of appeal from the Kadi courts to the ordinary courts, I think it would better serve the purpose.
Closer and more focused coordination of the legal aid service providers is seen by some of the partners as essential to better service delivery.
It would be much more effective if the state could approve the legal aid policy and bill to have something that is working with the system. There would also be a legal aid fund that would then, in a more sustainable fashion, support legal aid provision in Uganda. So for us, we believe really that it's very important for Uganda to equip itself with a legal aid policy and bill. We also would suggest that all the legal aid service providers would work very closely together to create more synergy. So both state and non-state actors look at how they can build bridges together and avoid duplication, coordinate better their work.
The legal aid service providers under their umbrella organization, LASPNET, are strengthening their coordination efforts to advocate effectively.
The coordination informs advocacy at national level. So the membership we have is that there are those who are at the grassroots, and then there are those organizations that are at the national level, but also that LASPNET is better able to advocate at the national level than you would find an organization at the grassroots. So by bringing an access to justice issue identified by a member on the ground to the national level, then you're able to improve access to justice generally for everybody.
Access to legal aid has to be offered through a prudent mechanism that benefits the most needy.
We have a mechanism which we use, what we call mean merit test. The mean merit test is a test which is automated. You ask questions and somebody enter that data into our system, and automatically the system will determine whether you merit being given legal aid or not.
The judiciary is also working to improve access to justice and consequently a better environment for economic development.
Administratively, we have made sure that we establish customer care desks in all our institutions. And as leaders of JEROS, which is our umbrella organization for all the organizations and organs of state involved in the delivery of justice, both criminal and civil, we encourage this practice so that people can look at the courts and the institutions that involved in the management of their legal problems and conflicts as user-friendly. We are very much also interested to continue the evolution of our local council courts, as you know them. These are organizations within the village where the people live. They come, they address the problems the people are facing and quickly resolve the matter, so that at the end of the day nobody has an excuse to resort to extrajudicial methods of resolving conflicts.
LASPNET is also promoting access to justice in a broader context of socio-economic well-being of their clients.
LASPNET thinks through the packaging of legal aid, that when the members are giving legal aid is given in a manner that responds to the need of the vulnerable persons. That you don't only think about legal resolutions or redress, but you also think about the circumstances of the person who has come for legal redress. Be it clothing, be it food, be it shelter, be it health, be it education. There is need for us to think through a referral pathway that can enable a poor person or a client who has met a member organization to have a full redress of all their social concerns.